what he's saying is, when you chase a girl that you like, and they don't like you, or they don't like you that much, they put you through the ringer. It's a circus for you now. Now you're jumping hoops, you're doing the most, you're juggling.
Okay, fine. I wasn't your type. Do you need to mention it? Probably not. If I wasn't your type, it is what it is, because now we're together. But she felt the need to be that transparent, saying, you weren't my type, buddy. I left him on the DM for 2 months. Then on a lonely night, I looked through the cobwebs, cleaned up the shelf, found your dusty self in the back, and then I finally responded, okay, let me give this guy a light of day.
And we are back in the studio, baby.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Uh-huh.
Christmas is around the corner. I know there's a lot of parties, a lot of, especially Secret Santa get-togethers that are going on. I know that's a big thing, especially around this time. I personally, I'm kind of indifferent to it. I think, like, I could do with it or without it. Both ways work.
Yeah.
I guess the main question is, how do you feel about Christmas? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, for the holidays, I'm not really a big holiday fan. Like, to be fair, usually I'm spending up money.
Yes, we all are.
I'll be frank with you. Usually it's a money spending time. I don't mind it. Like, at the end of the day, if I have to pay, if I have to buy gifts and I have to give, I'm not, opposed to that. Like, I don't mind giving gifts to certain individuals, just depending who it is and for what reason. I don't like the commercial aspect of it.
Yes.
Like the fact that they promote so much Christmas stuff to do. Like, I get it that in life there's only so many, there's only so many days in the year that you can celebrate like things that are positive. And I mean, Christmas is one of those, because outside of Christmas, what else holidays are there really, going on that's to make you feel good, like happy-go-lucky kind of thing? But for me, I just don't like the commercial aspect of it. I don't like the fact that it's predicated on giving gifts, right? Like, I think spending time and stuff like that, that's cool. But the whole gift giving and stuff like that, I think it's for children. I think when you're young, your child, you want that new PlayStation, you want that Xbox, you want the new shoes, new this, new that. I think the novelty wears off as you get older and you realize that, it's kind of a money spending holiday and they just want adults to spend money. So I'm indifferent to that fact of it. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'll participate to a certain degree. I'll do certain things, like you said, maybe Secret Santa with some friends and stuff like that. I know people like to do that, but would I organize it myself? No, but with children and stuff like that, I definitely understand it. But what's your thoughts on the whole holiday season, Christmas, just the whole everything that comes with it, from the jingle bells to the Christmas songs? Like, what's your whole thought on how the malls are, decorations, Christmas trees, all that? How what's your thoughts on that whole thing?
So my thoughts on Christmas, wow. When it comes to the holidays, growing up, just being in a Catholic school and just seeing how things actually work. One, I would say Christmas is a money grab. That's what I first got to say to that, because initially, Christmas is for the birth of Jesus, and there's a whole story with that. And especially if you grew up in a Catholic school, they tell you Jesus' story and why it's important, why Christmas is so important. But I was always confused where Santa Claus came into play, reindeers, elves, and coming through the chimney and leaving your stockings out. All of that stuff, like, was very foreign. It didn't make sense. Especially if you didn't live in the house.
Yeah, that's
if you lived in an apartment, it didn't really make sense. So I think for people that were living in apartments, they're like, wait a minute, where is Santa gonna come through? Where
comes to the balcony?
Does he come? Yeah, does he fly his reindeer?
Come up the staircase?
Exactly. So
elevator.
Exactly. So I think a lot of the times, some kids at least, would figure out really quickly that there is no Santa.
Yeah.
I mean, hate to burst your bubble, but they ain't no Santa. It's like they I would say they put so much emphasis in it, and there's so much music and this being jolly and stuff of that sort, which I'm not opposed to. It's a holiday, I feel like everybody should have fun, and no different than when you have a Halloween or something of that sort, where it's for enjoyment and stuff of that sort. But with Christmas, it brings everybody together.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a time of joy and giving thanks and also gift giving.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people enjoy that aspect of it, but I think kids enjoy it the most because they're the ones that receive the gifts. They're the ones that are so excited for that time period because, they get multiple gifts from multiple people, whether it's from their family members, whether it's from their friends, whether it's from their siblings. They're getting a lot of gifts, but as you get older and you become an adult, it's just you spending money.
So what's your thoughts on that?
I would say I'm indifferent
Uh-huh.
when it comes to it. I can do with it or without it. It doesn't
So do you
really.
participate in
I do
Christmas? This is what I
participate in it.
mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm
not
indifferent to
necessarily
it.
Indifferent because I'm indifferent about Thanksgiving, but I might go to
Yeah.
a Thanksgiving feast. I'm indifferent about Halloween. I might go to Halloween
But
party.
again, when you're indifferent about
Yeah.
something, that means whether you do it or you don't, it's not a big deal. Like
Okay.
I'm not like opposed to it,
Okay.
and I'm not super for it. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I'm sitting in the gray area because I grew up in an environment where Christmas was a thing,
Okay.
where people were getting gifts, I was getting gifts,
Uh-huh.
and so on and so forth. So I can't say, oh yeah, I don't believe in it because it's very commercialized. They're trying to take money out of your pocket and you spend as much as they're trying to break your bank.
But I have a
would
question
say.
for you because you lived in China. So
Yeah.
how did that work? When you're in China, obviously, explain that when Christmas
Oh,
time
wow.
comes around and,
Wow.
and you were there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So with that being said, explain how that worked in China and then you coming back to Canada and how that worked.
I think going to China and living in there really tells you how different the world is, especially their world,
Yeah.
right? When it came to Christmas, they don't celebrate Christmas. That's a Western holiday,
Okay.
right? So again, it tells you again how commercialized the holiday is. When in their world, it's just another day. But they do know about Christmas, some of them at least, just because they've been exposed to the West. They've lived out in the Western
Yeah,
world.
for
So
sure.
they know and they bring some stuff back to represent it. So you're gonna see Christmas lights and stuff of that sort because there's Western companies in China. So
Yeah.
they are gonna represent Christmas, but as a populace, that's not a thing. Like you're not gonna have days off because Christmas is going on. It's gonna be a regular day. You're gonna see lights. You're gonna see Christmas, the Christmas theme. But again, it's a regular day. Stuff are still going on. I found it to be very interesting because I've never seen that before. I've never come into a society where Christmas wasn't a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, we're in Africa. They
But
never
yeah, okay,
celebrated-
Africa was
they
also
never
like that,
celebrated
yeah.
Christmas when we were there.
Yeah, you're right.
Not to the extent of here. Just because Christmas is very westernized,
Yes.
obviously, because weather-wise as well, right? When you're in
Yes.
Africa, there's no snow. There's no
Yeah,
Christmas
so it
trees.
kind of defeats the
So
purpose.
when
It's
we're-
like LA. If
Yeah,
you go
from
to LA and it's like there's no snow, you could put the festivities up and the
Yeah.
Christmas lights. But when you see it on TV, you see a white Christmas, you
Absolutely.
see Santa Claus, you can't get that image in those different places around the world.
yeah, like it is a very commercialized holiday. That's why I said for me, I'm not the biggest fan of it because I think it doesn't apply to everyone, especially
Yeah.
how it represents people as well. Like, I mean, Santa Claus is a white fat dude. You get what I
And
mean?
that too, right?
It was just not a good representation for other cultures. So I think that's why I kind of deviated from it. Like, if we're just keeping it real, I think, not seeing a representation of my own people, for
Even all the
Christmas
elves.
and all the elves and all the other stories I've seen on it. Because again, you're not gonna see a bunch of black people in the North Pole. Like, you
That
get what I
too,
mean? It
right?
just doesn't add up with the story. So I figured the story wasn't for people like us. To be fair, like, I never resonated that much with it. What I resonated was with getting gifts when I was a kid. I
100%.
love the
Who
gifts.
hasn't?
So I think that's where the disconnect is with me. I think I just like the gift giving, but I don't think I was ever a kid to believe in like the Santa Claus coming through the chimney. Again, we lived in an apartment. We didn't have certain things that mimicked the commercial side of things, where I think other kids did have that fit into that mold, leaving the cookie under the tree, or the cookie and milk for when he comes by the fireplace and stuff like that. I think that's like the white picket fence analogy, or where you basically have this white picket fence, and that's what everybody is striving for. You have your house with the white picket fence. I think they just put a kind of image that's not really realistic, so it's hard to follow that. So like I said, the holidays though, I just like the time spending with people. I think that there's a lot of holiday parties, end of the year stuff. I like Christmas because of it's coming to the end of the year.
Yes.
To be fair, like, we're gonna wrap up the year. Usually Christmas Christmas goes first, then you have the New Year's to follow. Usually you're off. It's a statutory holiday, so we do have to recognize it, obviously, for the Christianity part of it as well. So I think that's a big thing for it. But like I said, I like getting together with people and doing all that. I'm not opposed to, as you said, but again, I'm not a biggest fan of this commercial stuff, I'll be honest.
Same with me. But, since we live in a Western society, these are some of the things that we have to conform to. To a certain extent, we don't need to do everything and partake in everything the Western world has to offer, but there's going to be certain things that we can't escape, especially if you're thinking of having a family in the Western world and stuff of that sort. There's certain things you just can't escape because they will learn it in school and they will bug you and they will hound you for why you're not doing it.
Okay, so I did see a funny video I wanted to just talk about before we get into our topics. I seen a video is like showing because you know how they say cuffing seasons this time of the year.
Winter is coming.
As our famous Kevin Samuel says. Winter is coming.
That's actually from Game of Thrones.
Obviously from Game of Thrones, but in our context, in relationship talk, it's a famous quote that Kevin Samuels would use in his podcast. But again, when it comes to like cuffing season and stuff like that, a lot of the time they tell people to beware of these seasons because like it's this is the money grab season.
Yep.
This is where you're spending a lot of money. Usually it's from December, January, February. Obviously you got the Christmas, New Year's, and Valentine's Day. These are the infamous days where men tend to spend the most money on their significant other. So a lot of women, it would be ideal to be in a relationship at this time, for that purpose. So when it comes to dating around this time, do you think that, things are, like, do you think that people are more available now for dating when it comes close to these type of times? Or do you think people would prefer to be single?
I think at this time, this is when a lot of women would like to be in a relationship.
Okay.
Because it's most ideal. And also, a lot of the times, you're not going outside, right? It's too cold. It's it's foggy outside some of the days. We're talking about just this week.
Well, it gets dark, daylight savings.
Yeah, so
very dark.
Yeah, so it gets dark really early, right? And especially when you factor in wind chills here, it's insane. It kills us out here. It's just like just a couple of days ago, it was like minus 18 with the wind chill, but it was really just minus like 1 or 2. But you get that wind hitting you in the face, buddy. You can see why people don't want to be outside. So the fact that you don't have any contact to anybody, you do want to spend your time with someone. And at the same time, when you're spending time with that someone, and you got these commercialized holidays coming into play where it's like, buy this gift, buy that gift, make your spouse happy and this and that. And you factor in now you having a relationship plus having a friend circle that's throwing parties and multiple parties. That will really break your bank for sure if you don't pick and choose what you want to attend for sure.
Well, I don't think the weather makes the biggest deal in that. I think in anywhere in the world,
you think people are willing to go
because
outside?
I think cuffing season would be the same. Like, there's gonna be a specific season, no matter which way you look at it, that's gonna be more advantageous to be in a relationship than not. I just think because of the holidays, it's a time where people get together. Because again, if you're in LA, it's tropical all the time, but they're still gonna have cuffing season because again, the holidays.
But usually when the weather changes, like it cools down in LA, that's when.
It's not gonna cool down enough for you to not go outside. What I'm trying to say, you're in a tropical place, right? So there's many places in the world like this. I mean, all of America, there's not everywhere has winter, right? Like if you think of the West Coast, they don't have winter. So I'm pretty sure they still have holidays like Christmas and stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
I think where people like to be in a relationship for these times is because a lot of people are gathering together. You know, people are going back home to their families. People are having celebrations and having people get together, even with Thanksgiving included in that. I think it's a lot of people getting together. And when you're not with somebody and you're going to these holiday parties, you're going to certain get-togethers, and you're single, it feels different at those times.
Yes.
I think like a lot of those times people would rather be in a relationship just because, like I said, you might be going back home to see your family and it'd be nice to have somebody with you. You might be going to a Thanksgiving meal with a bunch of friends, which I've done this year. It's nice to go with somebody, especially if everyone else is going to be coupled up, because this time tends to be the time where people like to be coupled up.
You're right.
Right? In the summer, it's different. You're not doing those same things. You might be, doing more solo kind of things or going to day parties and stuff that just don't involve a community, right? You can do individual stuff when it comes to better weather, summer. There's lots of other stuff going on. So I think that's what happens when it comes to this time. People just tend to want to be more communal at that time.
No, I think you're correct on that for sure. And I guess that is why people want to, get into a relationship, because it is a form of, it's a time where people are together.
And the promotion, the media shows.
Yeah.
So the media, when they show Christmas, what do they show? Families together, right?
Yeah.
Togetherness.
Yes.
That's what it usually is about. People getting together.
Even the Last Supper, does Last Supper have anything to do with?
I think it was around that time.
Don't
quote me. We ain't the religious podcast.
I don't know why I decided to bring in the
Last Supper.
The Last Supper and Bible talk. I'm not too caught up
Bible
with
thumper here.
Exactly. But what I was trying to use the Last Supper as a way of explaining togetherness.
Yes, the
right?
people getting together.
And people getting together, and it's supposed to be a time of celebration.
Yes, sir.
And I feel Christmas is a time of celebration. But on another note,
yes, sir.
Right, we have two videos that we would like to look over and definitely review. One was very interesting, Pop the Balloon to Find Love. This one, we've done a couple of videos on this.
Shout out to Papa Balloon. This show has kept us entertained.
Shout out to BM and Arlette. These guys, they should have definitely trademarked the show, because there's a lot of knockoffs.
A lot of impersonations.
A lot of impersonations. A lot of themes that resembles the same show, but they're not quite getting it. They're not doing as well as the original, but they're still trying to get, they're trying to get their clout up. They're trying to get their subscriber counts up and stuff of that sort.
I actually don't mind that people have taken the concept. I think that, whoever can make it the best wins.
Yeah.
Just because you're the pioneer of something, I don't think
you
own it. You own the rights to it.
Yeah.
So, kudos to whoever is trying to make that pop off. But I think that's just that dating concept. It is a superficial show. Let's keep it real. Like, people are basing things off judgment, and as you're going to see in this video, we're going to see how the superficiality works when it comes to dating. And let's see this video that we're interested in.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and bring out our next single lady. Hello, welcome in. What's your name?
My name is Uche.
Uche, how old are you?
God
I'm
damn.
23.
Jesus, can we stop the video right there?
Stop the presses. Stop the presses.
Jesus Christ.
And Uche,
What has happened here?
Jesus is Lord. All right, so there's a lot to break down
First
here.
of all, yeah, there's a lot to break down.
There's a lot to break down. The fact that, well, first there's a guy that actually popped prior to her even talking.
Exactly, and let's premise the show because maybe for those that never watched the show, I mean, if you're living under a rock, you would have not seen this type of concept, but it's pretty much everywhere. And you pop the balloon based on simple things. Sometimes it can be attraction, what they say, what they do for work, certain preferences they have or deal breakers they have. So this woman really said what? Just her name? I think
Just said her name.
She just introduced herself, correct?
Yeah.
And what was the reaction you seen?
Everyone popped along the boards.
But that was like 50 Cent.
I was about to say, shot 9 times, 50 Cent. Poop, 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 poop.
That was like
crazy.
50 Cent and Many Man.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
She got destroyed. And I've never seen that on this show. So I've seen the balloons pop like a lot on different shows, but those seem like more gimmicky shows. For this show, usually there's some integrity. Usually, there's some respect level for the contestants that come on. Usually they don't really pop that egregiously. So what's your thoughts on the whole panel just completely popping? And mind you, men are very lenient when it comes to women. They don't pop immediately just based on looks or anything outside of looks.
Well, what I will say actually is that Arlette had captured a very viral moment.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is right now we're in a really interesting time where, the rainbow people, rainbow community, and some call them the alphabet boys or the alphabet. There's words for them. I don't know how to describe them. They called them something else. But the point of the matter is, we can even say the LGBTQ community is prevalent in society right now. And especially now with the transgender situation going on, men that are heterosexual are now getting scared of potentially picking a partner that is not of the opposite gender. If she's not a woman, if she doesn't sound like a woman,
that is the opposite gender.
Sorry, so that is the opposite gender.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, if she doesn't look like a woman or if she doesn't sound like a woman, they're not gonna take a guess and assume that she is still a woman. So if those characteristic traits aren't there, they're going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to try and find out.
Okay.
So I would say that a lot of heterosexual men are operating from fear right now because there are some shows where there's transgenders that are on the show and then they reveal afterwards that they're transgender, and then you see the male is in complete shock. Disarray. He doesn't know how to respond. He's just confused at the whole situation.
Yes.
So I was just gonna say, because of her voice, the tonality of her voice, that was a causing factor for everyone to pop immediately. And the men don't usually pop immediately. This is the fastest pop I've ever seen. With all the seasons, they have like 3 seasons now. This was easily the fastest pop. But even in my head, my own inclination, I had the same thought that all the other men had on that panel. And they all assumed that she was transgender.
Well, I wouldn't say that was the assumption. The reason why I wouldn't say that was the assumption is because you have to understand, when they go on the show, they're going to ask these questions, I would presume, right? Are you heterosexual? Are you into male? Because there was a time on the show where one of the women seen a guy on the panel and said, "You look kind of gay."
She did say that.
And then the host is like, "Well, are you gay?" And then he's like, "No, I'm not gay." And then she's like, "Yeah, he's not gay." Like,
she told. I don't know if she told him to take the jacket off or something. Somebody told him to take the jacket off because he ended up taking his jacket off because it was. I guess he thought
It was given flamboyant tendencies. So don't get me wrong. On both sides, you're gonna get it. Like if a guy's dressed flamboyant, obviously the woman inquired whether he was gay or not, and then on this side, the men popped the balloon. Now, I wouldn't give it. I wouldn't assume that everyone thought the woman is transgender. The reason I wouldn't assume is because the show never promoted any of that. They never, came out saying this is what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm pretty sure like when they vetted the show, they said what's going on the show, what to expect. But the one thing I will say is, what's your thoughts? Because my whole thing is, I don't think men like women that have masculine voices to begin with. That's where we have to kind of look at things as well. Because I know we're going under the presumption of the transgender part. And although that could be a factor, I'm not saying that it's not going to be a factor, but I think that factor would factor in after the fact, not before the fact. So again, I don't think their idea is that this woman here is a transgender, but they're thinking, well, if I keep it going on, the assumption on the show is that people may perceive her as that because of the deep voice. And I think that's where the fear comes in, is the perception, right? Is the perception. They might have not figured that was a woman, that was a man hiding as a woman, because I think, like I said, the show would have told them that. I don't think they were thinking they're going to get tricked.
Yeah.
But I think they were caught off guard. I think most guys were just like, whoa.
I really do believe they were caught off guard. Yes.
Yeah, they were caught off guard, and then probably when they heard stuff, because then at the end of the day, they're like, oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. Like some of the guys were like, oh yeah, you're beautiful, but the thing was, it was the voice. You're a little too deep for me. It's a little too deep for me. It's not like they were disrespectful, because no guy said, oh, I thought you were transgender, right?
Yeah.
Like they never came out and said that. Now I know this is a PC world we live in, so I don't expect them to say that, because that could get them into their own troubles and whatever it is, right? So I don't expect them to say that. But the guys were respectful, at least when they came and talked to her, and then they could realize after a little bit, okay, maybe this is a woman. But still, I think in real life they wouldn't want to walk around with a woman with that deep of a voice, regardless if she's a biological woman or not. I think the fact is the perception that a deep masculine voice comes with. And again, would you date a woman with a masculine voice that looked completely feminine?
I would say no, just because it will always remind me of a male. Because I think the tonality of a woman's voice, I would personally like it to be more soft, more soothing, more, especially if you're seeing them on a day-to-day basis. I think that's more of the quality or my style of woman that I want. I think with a masculine voice presence, once again, in my head, it will create images of a male rather than a female, even if she did look well put together when it comes down to her physique and stuff of that sort. I just think that I would need somebody to just have. It's just like it's like if you were to ask me, would you want a brolic woman or would you want a woman that's more thin, more skinny?
Yeah, more feminine qualities or more masculine body. Yeah.
So it's like, well, I don't want a woman that is physically built like a linebacker.
So that's what I'm saying. So the point of the matter is that you want
I want women that represent female nature and femininity that I know of, because I know there's different perceptions of what femininity is, but I'm saying with my perception of femininity, I have an ideal woman that I would be okay with.
No, this is true for any factor.
Yes.
I've seen online they had this girl and she had a beard. Like she literally had a beard. She was a woman.
Yeah,
she was a woman.
I get it, yeah.
But again, can you expect men to want that type of woman?
There's somebody that would want that.
Of course. But
perception would be different with everyone,
Of course, but again, on a public platform where everyone's going to see this, then of course people are going to be a little more weary, right? They don't want the backlash that comes with that.
Of course, comment section is going to eat you apart.
Absolutely, and just the traditional side of it, right? Like you're speaking out of the traditional woman. You're you're talking about the traditional aspect of femininity, or we can talk like again, what's femininity? That's what is it determined by? Is the voice determine femininity? Is the action determine femininity? Does the body determine femininity? Like in terms of the softness of the body, the muscularity of the body. Like
it's been redefined so much now. I don't know what it is now.
well, it's hard to say because in different parts of the world, femininity is described differently, right? You're thin here. It's feminine, but how about if you're in certain places in Africa and you're a thicker girl, bigger girl, is that feminine? Like, you know,
that's a good question.
Like, so what do we consider?
How's that fit in the frame?
Yeah. What frame do we put it in? So if we're talking about the Western world and what we decide that femininity is here, I can understand your typical guy not really wanting to date somebody with a masculine voice. I think just the confusion of that. I think they wouldn't feel comfortable, and you can say it's insecurity because again, if the woman's a woman, you would assume that if she looks like a woman, she walks like a woman, but she talks like a man, you'd still think to yourself, well, it's still a woman. That's what like logic would tell you. Well, it's still a woman. What's the big deal? She just has a deep voice. But again, when it comes to the full package, you want everything to fit into that frame.
100%.
Again, you don't want a woman that, you know, is a woman biologically, but then she's built like a guy. Because then some people might accuse you of liking possibly men, right?
Yeah.
I've seen women like this that, you know, are more dressed more like men, have a haircut like a guy, and certain things that might not be suitable for every single man. But I think that for this purpose on this show, I think just with all the things going on with people feeling like they're getting tricked or fooled, and we've seen shows where guys have gotten fooled by, you know, people not being truthful coming on the show, kind of tricking. We've seen a show where a guy got tricked. So I think with those things in factor, people are like, I don't want to be in a viral moment. I don't want to be, you know, the one guy that kept it. And I think, yeah, when one guy pops, all of them pop, right? They're like, well, if you're not going to, I'm not going to do it. So I think it was a monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. And then as you see in every guy that was on the panel, what did they say? They said the voice. They can't get over the voice. They can't get over the voice. So I think
that was a common phrase.
Yeah. So I think all in all, when it comes to, you know, femininity and masculinity, I think we have to give some leeway to men that, you know, aren't interested in women that may show or exhibit signs of masculinity that's not common in your typical women. Because I think that men have a typical, and the typical, when you're not that, you're going to get a small percentage that likes that, right? Like, I'm not saying that that woman doesn't deserve to get a guy and a guy won't pick her up, or if a guy picks her up, he's, you know, weird or something like that. I won't say that much. I'll just say that he's okay with accepting that type of maybe masculinity when it comes to the voice. And just like a guy can pick up a girl that's more built like a guy, again, she's still a woman. So we're never going to criticize people on those factors because we're going to say, well, it's a woman. Like, you get what I mean? It is what it is. What do you want? He's heterosexual. She's heterosexual. Yeah. What's the difference? But I think it will be a personal preference. And then I think that's what it comes down to. I think it's just personal preference in that sense. But it was pretty hilarious. I'll say that much.
It was definitely hilarious.
A funny video.
Because I didn't see that coming, to be quite honest. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I thought that, you know, it made sense. I thought it made sense, unfortunately for her. And she, as she said in the video, we didn't play it more, but she did say, I can't do anything about my voice. This is just a voice that's been given to me.
And she said she gets that a lot.
And
so she was cognizant of her surroundings
definitely
too.
Aware of
she
that.
Wasn't surprised, which was good because like, you know, some people could have got very upset like and started crashing out on those type of shows, right?
Yeah.
They made her look bad, I'll be honest, because she is a woman. So she I know she didn't want to get played like that.
And Arlette never did nothing to save her.
And Arlette didn't save her. And I know she didn't want to go on that platform to get played like that. But I know they put your Instagram tags and stuff like that. So I don't know if you looked into her. Did you ever look into Instagram or anything?
I did. So
what did you find?
What I found was, you know, when you have an image of a person in your head, you try and look for the flaws of the person, right? So I'm looking at the pictures, and she has like a lot of makeup and stuff. But then, like, I'm looking at her cheekbones, like, and it's giving me some male features.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, like,
But do you think you
Is
gathered
this-
that from the show?
But I
Like,
think the show
you're
is what
biased.
kind of is a bias.
You're
because,
biased. And this is what I was going to say, like, if we go back to online dating and that, what would happen if you met someone online and they sounded like this? Because we don't even factor that in. This is a woman.
That's true, and you never spoke
That would
to
be
her.
insane. Like, imagine you go on a date with a chick. What are you doing? Walking away or what? You're sticking around. Most of the time, you don't talk on the phone before you meet up with the woman online. What do you do in that scenario now?
I would have to hit. I'm telling you exactly what I do. I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit the washroom.
Uh-huh.
Tell her I'm gonna hit the washroom. Go find my waiter. Pay my bill, and I'm out of there.
You're gone.
By the time the bill comes around,
So you would have sat and ordered food and or ordered a drink or something.
Yeah, I'll probably order a drink or whatever. Pay for it. Go
Okay.
to the washroom, and I'm out of there.
Just off
What
the
would you
voice. That would be tough. I mean, like, that would throw you off. That's going to throw you completely off, I'll be honest. Now, whether I continue to date or not, that's going to be, difficult. I'll be honest, in most situations, even if it was a catfish or anything like that, I've continued to date. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I've continued to date because at the end of the day, it's not like I don't need to do anything with that person. I'm just being respectful at this point. You did go out your way to meet up and we'll finish off our conversation. But at that point, I probably will cut it short.
Okay.
Maybe I'll cut it short. If I didn't like the voice, if it turned me off to that extent, I would be like, you know what? It is what it is. But I think if I was on a date and I heard a voice like that, it would just pose a lot of questions in my mind.
Yeah.
At that stage. But again, what am I going to do at this point? I'm already here. I can't really disappear now.
It actually reminds me of a video that I seen yesterday. A guy was doing, I think, a pedicure or it's a manicure for your feet. No, it's a pedicure.
Pedicure for the feet.
Yeah. So she did a pedicure for the feet. No, a guy was doing a pedicure, and the woman was doing the pedicure for him. And as she was working on his foot, he's asking her questions. He's like, "What's your name?" And this is like in Thailand. He's like, "Oh, what's your name? Like, what's a beautiful girl like you
I seen
doing
this
in here?"
video, yeah. So.
And after she's like, "What do you think?
Yeah, man.
What do you think?" This guy's like, "What?"
It's
he
funny.
jumped.
The funny thing is about this, though, I'll say this much. As much as like people are gonna look at this video and be like, "Oh my God, you guys," and they might have a bad opinion on how we're talking about this, but let's be frank, women would be the same with men that talk flamboyantly or sounded zesty, because that's the big word they like to use, zesty. So if
zesty or sassy,
if a guy or sassy, sorry, I should say sassy,
one of the two.
because if a guy had a feminine voice, the presumption that most women would have is that he probably swings a different way. He's probably, maybe he's interested in men. They might assume so, right? Just based on voice, because their perception of masculinity would be a deep voice, certain things you say. So I would say the perception on both sides would be skewed. Like, I think even if a guy went on the show and he sounded like very feminine, a lot of the women would have popped the balloon. So let's not make this based on, because a girl sounded like a guy. I think if a guy sounded like a girl, it would be the same exact thing. The point is, we're saying if someone presents themselves and it's a different from what you typically expect out of a man or out of a woman, I think most likely you're going to get people that are going to stray away from that. Let's just keep it real. Let's not sit here and pretend like, if women were on the other side of the equation, it wouldn't be the same. We would be the same on both sides of the spectrum.
100%.
But speaking on that, we have another video I actually wanted to get into. Our boy Travis Hunter, who actually just won the Heisman Trophy with our boy Deion Sanders.
So for people that do not know what the Heisman Trophy is, it's a trophy that you get in college football, and that indicates that you were the best player for that season.
Pretty much. And this guy has a big future. Again, Travis
big future
Hunter,
ahead of him. He's going to be drafted.
Lottery pick.
Yeah,
he looks
either
like
first or second.
He looks like he's going to have a good future ahead of him. Going to make some money in the league. And we'll see how that goes. But a lot of controversy has been coming around his name, and it has to do with his fiance.
Yeah, some kryptonite around him.
So let's get into the video, and we'll talk about what his fiance is discussing about him.
Yeah.
done?
I didn't doubt. I just didn't respond to him. He wasn't my type.
I wasn't her type.
I left him in my DMs for like 2 months. He was friend zone because I didn't like. He was like, "Am I friend zone?" I was like, "Yes." I was not into him.
That's what the
All
chick
right, let's just stop right there.
The one you like, you gonna
All right, so we got a big problem over here. Because this seems to be a common issue, especially with athletes.
Yes.
Where they spend so much time on their craft that they don't really have time to properly vet a woman and get them on their corner. Like, although, getting a woman in college is a better bet than getting them in the league.
In the league, for
right?
sure. Because he never hit that bag just yet.
He didn't hit the bag yet. So you want to basically...
I think he still gets money, not of NIL deals, so they do get paid to play.
Okay.
College players.
Okay, so they get paid to play.
Yeah.
But again, the choice of women he chooses is, as a wise man once said, choose the girl that chooses you, not the one. Like, choose the girl that you that likes you, not the one that you like. And I understand what he meant by that, because what he's saying is, when you chase a girl that you like, and they don't like you, or they don't like you that much, they put you through the ringer. It's a circus for you now. Now you're jumping hoops, you're doing the most, you're juggling, you're a jester to her now. You gotta play the clown role. And for what this woman was saying to this man, even that in itself is super disrespectful. When you tell your guy, your boyfriend, your fiance, that in the first 2 months, first of all, she said she wasn't into him. And then he chased her for 2 months. And then she's like, you know
she
what?
She left him in the DM for 2 months. So
left him in the DM.
Desolate.
So you're just on the shelf.
Shelf for 2 months.
Just gathering dust.
Yeah, she's already inquiring about other dudes. Other dudes are inquiring. You're not even on the radar.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You're deep in that shelf.
2 months? You're dusty. You're collecting dust.
Oh, yeah, completely dusty. And then she finally... went through the shelf.
Went through the cobwebs.
Yeah, through the cobwebs. Took a cleaning cloth.
Did some spring cleaning.
Wiped it off. Oh, there you are. All right, now you look like the guy. Now you're the guy all of a sudden. Now you're him. Now you're him. But
it's like he was him after he got 1,000 yards.
Exactly. Miraculously, he became him when he's just ending up to win he was in prediction to win a Heisman. And
he is before this. He was obviously like a good player.
But he was a good player. Everyone recognized him.
Yeah, he was recognized probably coming out of high school. Yeah. He probably got with her when he was probably like younger, right? So I think he already had projection that he was gonna do good. Yes. Like people know when you're gonna do good from your high school days. Then they're gonna predict you're gonna go to a proper college. You're gonna get paid in college, and then from college you're going to league. These are things. Remember, he's not gonna be a 50th pick. Or 200th pick. He's gonna be a number 1 and number 2. This guy was anticipated to do big things from a long time ago. It's not today he woke up and they just thought, today you're doing good. So for her, she said in the first 2 months, buddy, you're shelved.
Crickets
for you, because you're not my type. Let me not fake entertain you. That's what she basically is saying, right? Like, she's keeping it light. That the guy's right beside her. For her to even have that comfortability to say that you weren't my type, and I basically shelved him for 2 months. First of all, for me, I'm like, baby girl, relax. Take it easy. Who are you? Because we got to look at it. It's like,
well, he obviously doesn't know his worth.
That's what it
really comes down to.
Because at the end of the day, let's keep it real. The girl's not a supermodel. It's not like she has some modeling contracts, or she's somebody that the whole world's looking for. Yeah. So okay, fine. I wasn't your type. Do you need to mention it? Probably not. If I wasn't your type, it is what it is. Because now we're together. But she felt the need to be that transparent, saying, you weren't my type, buddy. I left him on the DM for 2 months. Then on a lonely night, I looked through the cobwebs, cleaned up the shelf, found your dusty self in the back, and then I finally responded, okay, let me give this guy a light of day. He's been thirsty in the DMs, you know? Finally, let me give him light of day. She starts talking to him. She said we were talking for like 2 months. He still had to work.
Yeah.
Still had to put in work. Still had to grind. But at this stage, now she's saying after he grinded hard, after she, you know, probably figured out more about him and found out he plays for this team and has this projection and all the information she needed, that's when she started to say, okay, let's do this. So what's your thoughts on just a woman saying that, especially a woman you're with, if you were with a woman and she told you that you were not her original type, but throughout the time of, you know, her not trying to entertain you, but since you kept pursuing her, eventually you turned into her type. Do you think that's possible?
I think there's a lot of ulterior motives to you just switching from not being your type to being your type. Like there's something else going on but at the same time, we've had this discussion at the same time too with the changing of
Yes.
where you meet somebody. You know, you meet them as a certain person at some point in time, and then they start to blossom into somebody else as time goes on.
But realistically, let's just flip the situation.
Okay.
Realistically, because we have to talk realistically.
Okay.
If I'll flip it on you. Say a girl goes into your DMs, right? And she's not your type. Are you entertaining her at all?
No.
So even if she changes, you would have not entertained her from the beginning, right? Even if she changed, you're telling me you're gonna entertain her afterwards?
Well, put it this way. If you go out in the general public, you met a girl, she went to high school with you. At the time that she was in high school, she wasn't all that. It's not something that you would entertain. Now you seen her on the streets. You went to like some kind of festival now. You seen her on the street. She remembers your name. She starts talking to you. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Like, is this the same person? Kelsey, is this you? You know, and you're like, damn. She had a whole 360 transformation. You don't even recognize her anymore.
Yeah.
You're telling me you're not going to give her a chance?
See, that's a different thing. Because she said only 2 months, right?
Yeah.
She said, I wasn't feeling him. Let him sit for 2 months. Then in 2 months, you give him a chance?
You're right. 2 months.
So we have to kind of look at the time frame.
Okay,
You see
time
what I'm
frames,
saying?
yeah.
Does someone become your type in such a small time frame?
Yeah, you're right.
See, if you're telling me she went to my high school, then I never seen her for 2 years, and she did a bunch of stuff to change her life, even a whole year, like 2 months is nothing. Even a whole year, you can change your life. You know that. You can go from zero to hero.
Oh, yeah.
So even if a full year passed and you didn't recognize, the girl and she changed herself completely, that's very much different than a 2 month span. You saying this person not your type. I mean, what can they do in 2 months to be your type is what's the question.
That is a really good question. So I have to believe that her thought process of him not being her type still remains, but due to the fact that he's a special case,
Okay.
makes her give him special privileges.
Now you're talking. Yeah, now you're talking. So you're saying when you're special case, there's special privileges.
Yeah, oh yeah, you get some access now.
So for his case, obviously
he cracked the code.
So, but if you were in that scenario, so say today you're Joe Schmo, say for example.
Yeah.
But in the next 2 months you become Joe Hero. Do you go with the woman that never entertained you? Like, would you go back with that type of woman if you were Joe Schmo? Hit her up. She didn't even see your DM because she's like, yeah, buddy, you're not sliding in my DM. Not the likes of you. But then you turn into Joe Hero, and all of a sudden she's like, yo, you know what? How are you? You know what? I'll respond to this guy. I'll give him some light of day. What's your thoughts on that? Would you take that woman serious, or would you, what's your next move with a woman like that?
I would say this. This is the advice I would give to a guy. If he came to me and he asked me, about a situation where he used to be, again, a Joe Schmo and now he's Joe Hero, I would say to this gentleman or a man, if he is interested in a woman, I would say you can entertain it, have some fun, but don't take it seriously because she wasn't ever taking you seriously. You also have to look at how you became Joe Hero and what you had to go through to become Joe Hero. So the fact that now you're Joe Hero and now this woman that has shelved you for 2 months or whatever amount of months has now circled back and now is giving you access, you should know that there's an ulterior motive to that access. And you got to be aware. You got to beware and be vigilant of that because that could set you back, especially whatever you try to achieve at that moment, whatever you became to get to Joe Hero, you could go back to being a Joe Schmo. Just remember that.
Okay, so that's interesting because, I mean, when you get success in life, you know, whether that's fame, money, social status, position, things change, right? So as you know, we see a lot of celebrities, athletes, you know, people that just have transitioned from, you know, living in the projects, being homeless, all of the above, right? We've seen them transition and hit these peaks where it's like most of the women they're dealing with aren't women that they could have got when they didn't have what they have. So what question I have to ask is, if you get highly successful at any stage and deal with any person that's like, you know, a gorgeous woman or whatever the case is, you must know in your heart of hearts that you probably wouldn't be around this girl if you never had this success.
Of course.
So with that being said, how would you operate then with women if that's the case? Because you know, as anyone gets more successful, you're getting access to things that you never had access to before. Just like if a woman didn't look that good and then she does a bunch of surgery and all of a sudden she looks good, she knows she's getting access to men that she couldn't get access to before. Are you taking that personally, or are you just saying, hey, this is where I'm at now, this is what I get now?
That's a good question. Do I take it personally?
Again, if you were, okay, and we can look even at like somebody that wasn't in shape, for example, a fat guy. Then he goes, he does the work, he puts in the effort, and he gets into, you know, he gets slim, he gets cut, he's ripped, and the women love him now.
I think you should take it personally.
Okay.
I think you taking it personally, although that's an ego thing, I think ego is needed for you to sometimes to get to where you need to get to, because it was only because of your ego is why you became what you are.
Yeah.
So if you were overweight, somebody must have made fun of you, or multiple people must have made fun of you, and you looked in the mirror and you said, I don't want to be this anymore. So you took it personal. So those attacks became a personal attack on you, and you decided to yourself, you know what, I want change. And you just kept remembering all those things that people said to you, and that was your driving factor to get you to where you need to be. So when it comes to taking things personally, I think you should take things personally, and then but you just operate accordingly. So if a girl disses you and said, oh, I don't want to be with you for a whole 2 months, and now she wants to come circle the block, okay, you can circle the block, and then once you stop at my block, just get ready to keep on going.
So you're saying that for those situations, you're just looking to be short term with these type of, like, if you're in those scenarios and
you already circled the block. I just need you, okay, make a quick pit stop, because you can see now things have changed on my side.
But things always change, right? Like if you're improving yourself, as you improve, you would expect so do the the quality of the food you eat, the quality of the women you get, the quality of the clothes you wear, the quality of your lifestyle.
I think there's
everything
certain
gets
things.
enhanced.
You're right. Everything does get enhanced, but I think when it comes to women, it's a bit different because there's a lot of women can be fickle at times, very volatile. They're here today, gone tomorrow, type of deal. Your emotions can be swayed based off her emotions. You know what I mean? So you have to learn to stabilize yourself, keep yourself balanced. You don't want to invite stuff in your life that could potentially knock you off balance. When it comes to getting fancy food and fancy clothing, that it could be an emotional purchase, but it's not like they have sway over you. Like a woman can have sway over you, especially.
Absolutely, yeah. I know what you're saying. You can buy a fancy purchase, but that doesn't like change anything.
That doesn't necessarily change you. You got what you got, and that's
and you
that.
Move on,
and you move on. But with a woman, I think, mentally, men have been broken down. Men that have been doing great things in their lives have been broken down just because they were with a certain woman that was destructive or toxic, and that unraveled all of the work that he's done.
So then would you say if you were on your way to making it, you would prefer to have a woman from that stage? Then by the time you make it, would you prefer just to deal with the woman that was there on your building process?
I think that's a personal question to every individual. I think they're going to answer that question according to how they are as a person. I think for me personally, I would rather be with a person that I met along the way prior to getting to my fame and success, rather than trying to find somebody when I'm already at the fame, when I already got the fame and the success. I think it's just a lot harder to filter through who's really there for you or who's really there for what you got. How about yourself?
I think the same, right? Like at the end of the day, I would prefer to deal with obviously a person that was there when I started my path. So I'm not saying I want them to be there when I wasn't on my path, because I think that could be dangerous. I think when you're on your path and you're doing what it is you intend to be doing later on in the future, I think that's an important time to have somebody on your side. Reason why is because they're seeing you through the process and they're believing in you through the process. I think that's most important. I think the belief in somebody is more important than, wanting to be with somebody when you already got it. When you already got it, it's too easy.
It is too easy.
It's too easy. It's like almost like giving you a cheat code. And, like Richard Cooper says, these girls are waiting at the finish line to fuck the winner. They weren't there, and like Drizzy said, you weren't with me shooting in the gym.
It's a true statement.
Like you weren't with me shooting in the gym, and I think that's where people have to really look at things. You want to be with somebody that's on your way to make it, or that's there when you're not as successful. I'm not saying you're not successful.
Yeah.
No one should be with you if you're not successful. I'll be honest. If someone wants to be with you for the sake of love, let them be with you for the sake of love. That's fine. But I think when it comes to success, I think success is a mentality thing, right? Having a winner's attitude, having a positive attitude, being a go-getter. I think there's certain traits that come with being a winner. I don't think you need to win all the time. Just like when we watch sports, guys like LeBron, Steph Curry, they don't win every single year, but they're winners.
Yeah.
The reason they're winners is because they're always putting in the work. So it's just a matter of time before they get what's due for them. So I think that, if a woman's with you in the early stages and has that belief that you're a winner and you're a person that is going to persevere and you're resilient, I think that quality of belief is the most important thing. Because to hang around with somebody just simply based on belief is, in my opinion, it's
a losing strategy.
No. Well, for a woman to do it, it just shows the epitome of loyalty. It's not a loser strategy for the woman. I'm saying if a woman's supporting a man and believing in him,
that's different.
It's epitome of loyalty.
I thought you were talking about the man's.
No, if a woman is believing in a man to, make it one day according to his habits of the present day, and she believes that he can make it, I think that's the epitome of loyalty. So when you get that level of loyalty, I think you can't get that when you've already made it.
No.
That level of loyalty will never be there because they're almost going to be with you. Not almost. They're most likely are going to be with you under the premise that you are who you are and you're able to provide what you're able to provide. Where someone else was like, you weren't that when I was with you. So you can't accuse me of only being here because of that factor.
That's true.
So I think with that being said, that epitome of loyalty, and things change over time. Like, maybe in due time, the woman could be there because of just what you're doing at this day and age. Some people bank on potential, and then when you hit your potential, they still can screw you over.
Yeah.
So let me not say that's the end all be all. You still have to work on the relationship, work on certain things. But I do believe, if a woman can have that belief in you in the early stages and see it through and wait till the success comes and have that patience, again, it's the epitome of loyalty. And I think that's where you probably that's probably the person you want to be with moving forward.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I think loyalty can be expressed in many ways, but again, having that belief system and sticking by a man's side, even when they don't really have much. Again, we're not saying to women, oh, yeah, you should be with a guy that's completely broke. He's a bum. He has no job. Because I know women like to go to the extremes.
Yeah,
like
I don't want to deal with no
bums. It's like
no bum are you dealing with?
We're not telling you to.
Yeah, and you're not going to deal with the bum.
We're not telling you to get with the bum because that's not something that you would even want to entertain anyways. So why would you go as far to even mention it? We're just talking about a guy that's on the path. He's not quite where he wants to be, but he has a vision and he's striving every day to get to that vision, making it a reality. I think if you see that level of potentials, I mean, it's funny because some people talk about, oh, a woman shouldn't go for potential. They should go for the person that is already there.
Already there.
Right? And that's a catch-22 because if you go for the guy that's already there, what makes you think he's not going to drop you and get somebody else? Because you didn't meet him when you had potential. You met him when he was already there.
Yeah.
So if you met him already there, he doesn't value you. He's going to go on to the next person. Right, and then to the next person because he had the option to do so, right? And then as you age or your beauty fades or he gets tired of you nagging or whatnot, and the third, he's just gonna move on. But again, if you catch him on the potential, they'll have a little more sympathy and it'll be like, you know what, she got me on the come up and whatnot. I'm gonna ride with her. She's not really giving me too much of a hassle or a problem.
But
patience,
but again, like advice to any young listener, this is why it's probably better to get with somebody in a younger age.
Yeah,
I know those that are older listening to this, might not be so applicable because the time has passed. Maybe in order to find somebody that's willing to grow with you, because let's be honest, if women are in their 30s, they're going to look for a more established guy.
Of course, that makes
sense. They're not going
sense.
to be waiting for a guy to try and make it at that point. They're not going to be as willing, I would say, compared to a 20-year-old, right? So I think that's the case. It's like if you want that potential, you kind of have to try and get that in the earlier stages of dating, and especially when you're younger 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, that's the time you want to kind of push that.
Yes.
But again, as you get older, you might not have that same leeway. You're going to want people that are going to be a little bit established and already have a game plan going for themselves. I don't think a lot of women that are older want to roll the dice. But as you get older, you have to roll the dice because the options are less. And with the options being less and you just getting older, it makes your chances obviously a lot more rougher.
There we go. I think you couldn't have said it any better than that. And as you said, for the men, you want to try and catch these women when they're a bit younger, just because do you have time to grow with them?
For both sides, women and men.
Women and men. You want to catch them when they're younger because you have time to grow, both of you guys together. And hopefully if you have the patience to stick around and make something, build something with the individual, then great could come out of it. But it's a gamble on both sides.
Always a gamble. Nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah, nothing's guaranteed, but hopefully you make a good choice and you kind of roll the dice and go with that. And think that's all we got for the topic for today.
Yeah, that's it. That's what
And
got.
we are
Out.
Deuces.
Peace.